An entire horizon of white. A sea of clouds, and at its heart, the world tree, piercing the heavens. This is the world we call home.
Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is every bit as fantastical as you'd hope. An RPG set in a massive world where man and animal live on the backs of tremendous beasts in a sea of clouds. It's a magical place that appropriately sets the stage for an epic adventure that gets more interesting as it develops. But this greatness comes dozens of hours into the game. The 80+ hours it takes to complete the story won't feel like time wasted, thanks to the game's incredible scale and depth. But the bad taste of its lesser qualities is never completely washed away, despite the achievements that ultimately save the day.
By coming to this place, you can save the world. Save it from the slow demise that is its fate.
We wouldn't have to live in fear.
At the start, our cliched hero Rex is a naive and upbeat salvager who unwillingly gets wrapped up in contract work with the game's soon-to-be villains. They seek a legendary sword, which, in this case, is the weapon manifestation of a human-like being known as a blade. When a human resonates with a blade, as Rex does with his objective, Pyra, a lifelong partnership forms. The two ultimately seek Pyra's heavenly homeland, Elysium, and must fend off would-be captors and major environmental obstacles along the way.
Burning sword!
Anyone familiar with Xenoblade Chronicles will rightfully recognize the way Xenoblade 2 sets you up to be surprised in the end, as characters gradually reveal secret thoughts, unveil unexpected backstories, and make moves that catch you entirely off guard. These thought-provoking revelations reshape your understanding of the world and the point of your participation. But long before the story delivers these compelling beats, you are thrust into predictable scenarios and presented with poorly voiced characters from one scene to the next. Once again, the stout and furry Nopon creatures are an annoyance on par with Jar Jar Binks, harming would-be dramatic scenes the moment they open their mouth.
Hey! Hey! This way! Friends! Come this way! Tora, help you escape!
Who are you?
Quick! No time for explain!
You can only ever travel as a party of 3, but with a blade standing behind each character, or driver, the real-time battles are frenzied displays. Still, Xenoblade 2 gives you enough room to breathe and strategize. Every character will dish out basic attacks automatically, which in turn fuel more advanced skills, and how you manage this process and the numerous other battle mechanics can make or break your success against the game's tougher enemies.
Rex, I'm with you!
Good idea!
Sword!
One of the major issues with Xenoblade 2 is that it fails to adequately educate you, with flyby tutorials introducing cascading mechanics and terminology that's easy to mix up. The flow of combat works as follows. Your auto attacks fill up a meter tied to abilities known as arts. Arts fuel another meter for special attacks. Special attacks can be linked from one character to the next to build up a blade combo. Blade combos seal away certain enemy abilities, and team chain attacks, based on a meter that is also used to revive fallen teammates, can break these seals to create an elemental explosion that deals hefty damage, which successfully extends the chain attack for another round. Enemies can also be forced into tiers of vulnerability by breaking their defense, toppling them to the ground, launching them into the air, and smashing them back down, provided you execute these moves before countdown timers run out, with abilities linked to cooldown timers that you've hopefully kept track of along the way. There are other systems that exist on a per-character basis, but those exclusions notwithstanding, there's already a lot to keep track of. Success comes from managing timers and meter charges and firmly grasping your available options, the latter of which is more demanding than the game initially lets on. Thankfully, Xenoblade 2 feels appropriately balanced to account for its learning curve. It's not until later in the game that mastery becomes paramount. The frustration arises, however, from the lack of reference material, which makes your desire to improve, or your ability to chase hidden paths with dangerous enemies and great rewards, difficult to realize at first. Take screenshots when the game presents you with a tutorial, because once you move to the next text bubble, that info is otherwise lost. The only other recourse you have is to purchase bite-sized tips from informants throughout the game, though linking partial tutorials to a merchant is hardly user-friendly. Variety is good, but Xenoblade 2 throws you into the deep end a bit too early for you to appreciate the value of everything at your disposal.
Barrel of the gun!
That's it right there!
My thoughts exactly!
Blind spot!
Why not? We can do this all day!
Xenoblade 2 encourages you to build a massive team of blades by collecting and bonding with core crystals, which are found in chests and dropped by defeated enemies. Despite 3 tiers of crystals, normal, rare, and legendary, you're never guaranteed to get one of the game's elusive rare blades from crystals you find in the field. Save for a few varying body types, the vast majority of blades you acquire look nearly identical.
Been waiting for you, pal.
Looks obviously aren't everything, and even common blades are useful as they each come with randomized buffs and stat bonuses that can make a big difference in battle. But rare blades have unique designs, their own side quests, and a larger selection of skills and stat bonuses than common blades. It's easy enough over time to fill out your party with rares, but opening core crystals becomes less attractive as diminishing returns set in. Opening 50 core crystals towards the end of the game yielded 0 rare blades, despite having only unlocked half of the rare roster. To combat the randomness of core crystals, you are joined by a blade early on named Poppy, an artificial life form that you can customize to your liking. The concept sounds great, but unlocking parts to modify Poppy requires you to play a slow and shallow retro game called Tiger Tiger at a specific location in the game. This long-winded process isn't enjoyable enough to see through, and not worth sidelining your efforts elsewhere with blades that you can raise organically through combat.
Greetings, Master Pawn.
Blades outside of your core party can also be trained via asynchronous merc missions, and they return after a fixed amount of time with rewards and experience that goes towards developing their secondary abilities. Field skills, for example, traits such as lockpicking, focus, and leaping power, will allow you to access elite treasure chests and shortcuts throughout the game. There are very rare instances when you are gated by a door that requires mastery of certain field skills, though these are exclusively linked to abilities shared among story-based blades. Even in these situations, you're never truly stuck. Xenoblade 2 lets you fast travel instantly to any major location in the game, regardless of the context in the story. This is great in a pinch, but it's incredibly illogical. You should not be able to warp out of a location to buy equipment across the world during a mission where your main objective is to escape imprisonment. But Xenoblade 2 affords you that option. Xenoblade 2's many systems are part of what keeps you intrigued, even as your playtime approaches triple digits. But it's the vast and wild world that draws you deeper into the game beyond your main quest. On this and many other levels, Xenoblade 2 exhibits admirable depth that is equal parts pleasing and frustrating. But the struggle to keep up with everything thrown your way is ultimately made worth the effort. Its often clumsy nature keeps it from being the next groundbreaking Switch game, and it will be a tough pill to swallow for people who aren't accustomed to the typical cliches found in many Japanese RPGs. But Xenoblade 2 is worth pursuing if you've got enough patience to let it blossom.
Mostly known as Zeke, and often addressed as the Zekinator! Behold my blade, Pandoria! And this is my sword, the Purple Lightning Dream Smasher! If you want a taste, come and get it!
We're good.
Good? No?